What's up, guys? This is Dean, the CEO of Stealth Capital. Today, this is going to be a short video. I want to talk about goal setting. Obviously, there's a lot of different people talking about goals, how important they are, SMART goals, this goals, that goals. I think people overcomplicate it, first of all. And second of all, I wanted to touch upon a topic that I don't see too many people talking about. And I think it's very applicable in terms of my own life. And I think that's one of the most powerful ways to set goals while not overcomplicating things. So first off, I think goal setting is something that's absolutely imperative if you want to improve in any endeavor. And so the question then becomes, how do you set goals? What is the process through which you can establish these metrics, etc.? And I think there's a lot of people who overcomplicate these things. And for me, I am always a strong believer that you should try and keep things as simple as possible. The world is complex enough without added complexity. And so the fewer moving parts there are, the less complex something has to be. Just keep it super simple. And so today I want to talk about this concept that I don't think anybody else has called it this yet, so I want to coin it here, the Goldilocks goal setting principle. And this goes back to this childhood story. I don't know if you guys watched, if you guys read this, I was definitely indoctrinated with this growing up here in the US, where it's a story about this young girl called Goldilocks, and I think she shows up at some bear's house and she starts basically eating all their food and sleeping in their beds, etc. And so she eats one, it's too hot, she eats one, it's too cold, and then she eats one, it's just right? And so the idea, the Goldilocks example is basically there are going to be goals that are going to be too big, and there's going to be goals that are too small. And so the whole idea is that you want to set goals that are in that Goldilocks happy medium, where it's not too crazy and it's not too out there that it seems insurmountable and it's like impossible and you just keep failing and you don't ever get a sense of momentum. But you don't want them to be so small that you don't even want to get out of bed to get after it, right? It doesn't inspire you, it's not exciting. And so there's this happy medium between goals that are way too easy and too easy to be hit and the goals that are too big, it's just impossible and just keep failing, and you never get anywhere, right? So not enough people talk about this because there are books out there about visualization, imagine you're a billionaire, imagine you have this, that, the other. The thing is, if you don't have two pennies to rub together, why are you imagining you're a billionaire? I think first and foremost, you try and imagine saving $1,000, right? I think that's a pretty good goal to set up, as opposed to immediately being like, oh, imagine you have a private jet, imagine you have a car. Yes, those things are fine to spend some time visualizing, but from a day-to-day tackling goals perspective, you want to set a more realistic Goldilocks goal for where you are in your current stage of progression, right? So for me right now, I'm a self-made multimillionaire, and so I have certain goals. And even now, I don't necessarily set goals like, hey, I want to be a billionaire, because obviously those things are quite a few magnitudes away. And so it doesn't mean that I won't eventually get there. It's just I am targeting goals that are in the stretch zone. That's not something that's way too out there such that it feels like you're not even making any progress toward them. But they're also not so small that they're not inspiring and I don't want to get out of bed to go after it. So this principle also applies in the gym. So if anybody out there lifts or works out, you'll understand that the progressive overload training that comes with weightlifting, you want to have a Goldilocks weight target in terms of any exercise that you're doing, right? So if you're basically doing, let's say, a bench press and you're just benching the bar all day, every day, you're not going to get anywhere if that's kind of super easy for you, right? But if you start out and you're like, hey, I want to be, the world's strongest person. I want my 3, compound lifts to be over 1,000, and you put on 3 big plates and then you absolutely injure yourself, right? So it's the same concept. If you set these massive goals on the onset, like if you're currently broke or you're in student debt or you have lots of credit card debt, whatever, and you set this goal, hey, I want to be worth $10 billion or something like that. That's the equivalent of basically me never having worked out, going into the gym and saying, hey, I want to squat 4 plates on a side. It's a good goal to strive towards eventually, but it's something that if you just set that and kind of keep that there, it's going to destroy you, right? If I tried to squat 4 plates without ever working out, I'm just going to tear my muscles and I'll probably never work out again. The same idea applies in terms of your goal setting, right? So if you're broke currently and you set a goal like, hey, I want to be worth $10 billion, you work hard for a month, you work hard for 2 months, and you don't see any progress relative to that $10 billion goal. And so then it's very easy to get discouraged, and the next thing you know, you're giving up on it entirely, right? So for each person, in all avenues of life, I think it's worth setting goals that are of this Goldilocks medium. And each day also, depending on your own state at the moment, it's going to fluctuate, right? So there are days when I wake up, I probably might have not gotten the best night of rest. Maybe there's a couple things that are worrying me. Maybe my diet wasn't great, something happened. And so I need to then consciously lower the size with which I'm taking action that day, right? So I mentioned this on some of my other videos, but if I'm feeling super down, really tired one day, I want to kind of lower the amount, the scope with which I am viewing my goals. And no longer is it like, I'm going to go through this whole day and I got it and I can crush it. And those are kind of my best days. But on days where I'm really, really dragging my butt, I want to just focus on the super small things, right? The moment I wake up, I want to be able to think, hey, how do I get to the kitchen and get some water into me, right? How do I get to that spot on my couch that I like to meditate? After I meditate, how do I get to my notebook and start journaling? And so taking life in these Goldilocks, goal-oriented frameworks is something that I think is absolutely imperative, and it's a really simple concept. So it's not something that you need all this fancy spreadsheet software to do. You don't need some app on your phone that you have to pay $19.99. It's just this concept of choose goals that excite you but are realistic and things that you can progressively work towards and feel inspired towards every single day, as opposed to choosing goals that are too big such that it feels like you're never making any progress and it's very easy to lose hope, but also not making them too easy such that you're not pushing yourself and you're uninspired by them. So that's it for me. I'm Dean. I talk about topics like self-improvement, trading, investing, and I'm just trying to level myself up, and all the lessons that I've learned along the way I would like to share with you, the audience. Thank you for joining me. If you find content like this helpful, feel free to throw us a like and a subscribe and comment below what else you would like me to talk about, and hopefully I can make valuable content that will help you inspire yourself to be better and get after your goals and live to your highest self. And we'll see you on the next one.